Hey,
Hi, how are you?
I am well. How are you?
Pretty good.
So,
I may still have an echo. I'm sorry. I can't put earbuds into my phone. I don't have the device, and we live on an island, so I can't even buy the device. The store that sold them closed down.
yeah, I complain about Buffalo sometimes. Like when people come in and they want to work with us, I'm like, it's not New York City. If you need this weird ingredient, I need to know 5 days early.
Yeah, well, you're still doing better than us, I think, probably.
Well, I mean, Amazon delivers to me, so really that solves all my problems.
Yeah, yeah, we have that too. It's a little longer though.
I still got to get on a ferry and like
Yeah.
travel
No,
across.
there's a bridge. There's a bridge, a ferry in the summertime. Ferry
Got
will
it.
be another month or two, I think. Mid-May,
Got
probably.
it. So, Elizabeth, thanks for joining us on our Chocolatier chat.
Yeah.
And I was saying we're on a bit of a bean to bar jag here. We've done bean
Hmm.
to bar people the last couple of weeks, so thank you. And you're on that team. You're on the bean to
Yeah.
bar team.
Yes, you did good now last week. So, yeah, we're definitely being to bar for the last 4 or 5 years now, I guess.
But I mean, you and I've known each other. We were trying to figure that out yesterday, and you and I've known each other for a while. But I don't know that like we've never really sat down and talked about how you got into
Started.
chocolate and where that all started. So can you give
Yeah.
us a little bit of that?
So, yeah, about 15 years ago, I've been trying to figure it out. I went off and did a master's in France for a year and saw how much chocolate they ate, saw how skinny they were at the same time. Truthfully, in Canada, we hardly had any dark chocolate at the time, and I loved it. You could find the Lindt 70% bar, and that was it. I think that was the extent of it. So, those flourless dark chocolate cakes and the pastries, and I just, yeah, went crazy for it. Moved back to Canada, moved to Ottawa, and we still didn't have anything at that time. So I started making it and started selling, chocolatey cakes to my coworkers. I worked in a large office building, so there were about 700 people there. I was starting to, make some treats until about 3 in the morning every night, and and then was about to go on maternity leave, which I know you don't really have the same thing there, but I was about to be off for a full year with the baby.
It's like 4 weeks. I mean,
Yeah. So it's a year here, and yeah, we had an opportunity to move up to Manitoulin Island, and I was pregnant, and we were moving to a farm, and I said, sure, it'll be like Anne of Green Gables. Let's move up to Manitoulin Island. So that was pregnancy brain talking at the time, and yeah, we moved here. Nothing like I don't know if you guys watch Anne
hey,
of Green
by
Gables.
the way, I got the Anne of Green Gables reference because my wife is this huge Anne of
Fan.
Green Gables fan.
Well, it wasn't like that, and I don't have red hair and pigtails. But my daughter's getting the full experience now on the farm. So yeah, we live on a farm, but we don't run the farm, and yeah, so it is definitely rural, a town of 900. We have several towns on the island, and it's rural, but people love coming up here in the summertime. Cold winters, and you are right, it's north. I saw the rest of the video from yesterday. 7 hours from Toronto by driving, and when I'm making deliveries along the way, more like 10 hours.
But but when you were making treats for your coworkers, like your background wasn't food, right? I mean, you
No,
were
no, it was marketing, software marketing, and then financial marketing. So yeah, it was definitely a different life. My master's was in international business. And yeah, so I took some courses at the Cacao Berry School in Montreal and just sort of started out that way. Traveled off the island when I could. A lot of it was self-taught. And then I had a blog for a long time, so I was writing about bean to bar chocolate while making confections and pastry in the business, which was called Ultimately Chocolate at the time. So we were selling locally through cafes. And then we started shipping to retailers about, I don't know, 7 years ago. And now we've been growing that. So as my kids grew and, were in school full time and needed me less, now they hardly see me at all, but the business grew then. And we changed the name 2 years ago to Finnia Chocolate. Mm.
like I'm the guy that's never lost for words. Like was trying to think about the question there. So, but I mean, chocolate. I mean, I think we know each other because like chocolate kind of took over in your
Yeah.
life, right?
It
Like,
took over my life. It's my hobby and my job.
right. I mean, I was going to say it's like when you were blogging, that was something that I think that's when we met. You came
Mhm.
down to Tomric and you blogged about an experience here that
Yeah.
you were looking at equipment, but really you were trying to learn. Like
Yeah.
I don't know that you were planning on buying anything, which is cool. Like
Yeah.
I don't care, but
Yeah.
I mean, I think, and there was a lot of that. Like your blog was a lot about like finding new things to learn about chocolate, whether it was about confection or bean to bar.
Exactly. Yeah, that was exactly it. It was just about learning, every day learning about chocolate, every day learning about every aspect of chocolate and trying to see if you could learn every part of it. And it was about making it at the same time. I didn't want to learn about it and write about it and just write about chocolate without really understanding it. Now, like I remember thinking I'll never be able to taste the differences between single origin cocoa beans in a chocolate bar. I'll never be able to find the little. Now I can taste if what kind of roast another chocolate maker is using on their beans when I taste their bars. So it's a completely, and that's just from roasting beans myself, and that's from doing every part of the process. I can tell if the cocoa butter was not exceptional when I'm tasting chocolate in our own. If we have, we get in a bad batch of cocoa butter, but now I have to just eat the cocoa butter. We have some work going on in the background. I'm not quite sure who popped in, but
That's what we get for being in an active construction site.
yeah. Well, it was almost. Hi. You can come in if you like. It's Instagram Live. You might be a little part of it.
But I think that's a good lesson. I mean, sensory. So that sensory piece, right? Like I hear a lot from people, oh, I'm not good at tasting something, or I can't do that. And I
Yeah.
think that sensory, you can train yourself to do sensory if you want to train yourself to do sensory.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Like if it's important to you,
Mm-hmm.
and I have, like around here, I'm one of the guys that like when somebody wants something tasted
Yeah.
and doing
You're the
an
guy.
analysis, they come to me and it's like, okay, the only reason you come to me is because I'm willing to do it and I'm willing to take the time to learn about it, not because I have this exceptional tongue.
Exactly.
Right. I mean, there are super tasters too, obviously.
Yeah.
Right. They can taste, 1 part per million, whatever.
Yeah. But
But
it's because you've been working with it, and you've done both sides as well now. So you're
right.
kind of working with all of it and demonstrating the bean to bar lineup as well as the confection stuff. So you would have trained yourself into that quite well.
Yeah, but I will tell you that I don't think the bean to bar side, like even talking with Tom last week, right? Like Tom is this like super methodical, like science guy, even though that wasn't his background, right? Like
Yeah.
when he wants to identify something new in a cocoa bean or a process, he goes through the 47 stages
Yeah.
or whatever the number ends
I
up being.
actually find that that's the men in the industry. A lot of the men in the bean to bar industry are like that. They're very methodical. They measure everything. They make sure they know their exact percentage of, what their husk to bean ratio is after winnowing and before winnowing, and they're very careful about that. And I find that the women are going more off instinct. And that's just my perception. That's what I've seen. But it's what I've seen over the years. And I think it's that whole like a lot of the early people in the industry were building their own equipment, and it was male dominated because women tend to not build their own equipment when they need something. So we have a lot more women in the industry now because the equipment has become smaller, easier to use, easier to buy. And I do find that the men tend to approach it that way. The women start with their taste buds. That's just my thinking. Anybody can argue with me on that.
No, I was just more thinking that, I mean, like, I don't think, you or Tom or whoever,
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I'm as good at tasting cacao and roast. And there's a place there that I'm not quite as wired about that. And that
Yeah.
could be just how much I've done it or how much I haven't done it, right? Where, you know, yes, I can taste mold.
Yeah. Yeah. Not everybody can. Not everybody can.
But that comes from, I think, sensory. Back to where I started this, was that
Yeah.
sensory really is about just learning, right? So I know what cardboard tastes like. Now, why do I know what cardboard tastes like? Because there was this time when I was fought. No, I mean because the person that trained us to do to do sensory
Hmm.
made us taste things that we might not have really wanted to taste.
Yeah.
Like you've got to taste mold to know what mold tastes like in a cocoa bean, right?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
Right. You've got to taste poorly fermented beans to be able to say those are poorly fermented beans versus something that's over fermented,
Yeah.
right? I mean, or milk powder or whatever. I mean, I think
Yeah.
that that's one of the things that I find really interesting as people are developing now milk chocolate recipes in the bean to bar plate
Hmm.
space, is people don't know a lot about milk powder,
Yeah.
right? And I used to work for a Swiss company. All we talked about was milk, right? So
Yeah.
you learn those differences between a spray dried milk powder and a roller dried milk powder and full fatted and not fatted and all this stuff, and it matters,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. It does. It does.
And
But
because all your
I
ingredients matter,
could
right?
spend some time talking to you about that and learning more about the milk after.
But I
In
so I
our
was
case, with milk powders, we found what works for us best and just gone with it, and we don't switch.
yeah. There's a company in Connecticut, I think, that started by they own a dairy, right? And then they started making caramel because they had really good dairy.
Yeah.
And then they've moved on to milk chocolate, right? They make their own peanut butter chocolate. And like,
Yeah.
so milk from this group of cows
Yeah.
makes this chocolate.
Yeah.
Group from this group of cows makes this chocolate. Like, how deep do you want to dive, right?
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. We all
So,
dive into what we get passionate about.
so we're like cocoa beans.
Hmm.
What origins are you using these days?
So we have a few. We've got some from Tabasco, Mexico. They've got like good solid dark chocolate. It makes one of the best hot cocos out of our bars, in my perception. It's got a good chocolatey flavor, a little bit of fruit, but not too much. So it's not a little bit acidic, but again, not too bad for acidity because the fruity ones tend to you get a lot of acidity, and it's hard to make a good hot chocolate without adding more sweetener or that sort of thing. Um, so yeah, and it's all perception, right? It depends on your own taste buds as to how it comes out. So we're using some Mexico, some Honduras, really mild flavor, bean, a little bit nutty and almondy, and a really good one to taste compare with a lot of other fruity beans. So that way you can really see the difference between origins. We've got some Aroquita and Chigorodo from Colombia. We have someone from Toronto who has a farm in Colombia and is back and forth, and he's been sourcing really good cacao from Colombia. And then we have someone else in Toronto who's been helping us to source our Mexico and Honduras beans. Dak Lac, Vietnam. We've got quite a few, and yeah, I'm being pretty selective. I always want to showcase the differences. So we didn't dive into Madagascar because everybody else has Madagascar. So what we've done is found another bean that is equally as fruity and exciting, I think, which is our Dak Lac, Vietnam. So yeah, we're trying to cover a big range of it.
Yeah, and I think it's got to be a little easier than it was. I mean, obviously, you're on the cusp of opening a pretty big facility.
Yeah, much larger than what we've been in, and I can already see that we'll need to expand in about a year. I think so.
Right. But I
Haven't even
mean,
fully moved in yet.
right, you're gonna have to sell beans off, you're gonna have to sell bars off of Manitoulin,
Yeah, which we do. We do quite a
one or
bit
two,
now.
right? But I think as this market's expanded, right, that bean to bar category,
Yeah,
I, I think yeah, you've got to keep pushing some of that flavor things. You're right. There are a lot of people using some of the same, not just origin, but same farms or same
yeah,
regions,
exactly,
right?
exactly. Yeah,
And I mean, obviously, process matters. Like,
yeah,
I mean, everything from fermentation through to conching, it all
yeah,
matters.
exactly.
But you know, it all starts there, right? It all starts at that terroir.
Hmm.
You know,
Yeah, it starts with that flavor profile,
it
and it
almost sounds like I
gets
know what I'm talking
interesting.
about, doesn't it? I'm
It,
close. I sound like a Navy kind of know what I'm talking about.
and it gets interesting you go to because if you grow your product line, so what we've done, I mean, you have a couple choices in bean to bar. You can release 5 bars and expand as far and wide as you want with those bars, get into as many retailers as possible, sell cross country, across the world. Or you can expand your product line and sell as many different products and offer your retailers and your customers a lot of choice. We have been following that path because we are opening a storefront, so we need to fill the store with more than 5 chocolate bars. But it gets interesting with the beans specifically because there are some confections and things I want to do, but I don't quite have the right origin yet for those. So I either find a single one or I blend. So we blend sometimes to get something that will pair really well with caramel or something that will pair really well with coffee. And it is hard when you're working with 5 or 6 origins to find something that will pair or replace some of the confections we had before when it wasn't bean to bar. So it's interesting as you grow how important those bean profiles are.
True. But what's interesting is that you're one of the few people that's really doing confection with your own bean to bar, right?
Yeah.
Like,
so it's not extensive confection. It's limited. We do some truffles, but yeah, it's not easy to do. You have to have, as a sole chocolate maker, it was very hard to try to manage 2 different kinds of products. But once you have a team and hopefully more than one tempering machine or way of tempering, then can branch out. When you have one tempering machine, it's troublesome. We supplement right now with Easy Temper and a Selmy. But yeah, as you branch out and find more ways to temper chocolate and you get more people in who can work at different hours, then you can start to get into the confections as well as the bean to bar.
Yeah, I mean, I think about my own little world, right? Like confection is has its own successes, but it definitely has its own challenges, right? I mean,
Yeah.
like learning to be able to consistently cook a good caramel day in, day out,
Yeah.
right, is not an easy proposition.
Yeah, not something I can do.
Right, and like so somebody like Fruition, right? I'm wearing their hat today, and I didn't do that on purpose, but like Fruition is really, really good at making chocolate from where I sit.
Yeah.
And they've grown through the years, and they've changed production methodology, but their chocolate has stayed consistent and is high quality.
Yeah.
And then they have this whole like caramel line, right? With all these nuances of that, and they make that really well too, right?
Yeah.
And they've been able to blend those things, but I don't think that was a 2-day adventure, right? That doesn't go with every piece of chocolate they have. You know what I mean? Like every chocolate origin they have does not go with their caramel.
Exactly.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And so confection, thin shells traditionally are harder with artisan chocolate because our viscosity is different and our tempering doesn't work the same and all that stuff, right?
Exactly. Yeah, it's the 70% tend to be thick, really thick. The 60% even thicker. And even if you play around with your cocoa butter, it's still troublesome. Our milk chocolates end up being too thin for a lot of confections, and we'll have to, double layer and that sort of thing. So it's a fascinating process when you're trying to dip with really thick chocolate. In some ways, you never get cracks, but at the same time, it's it can be really troublesome to deal with thick chocolate.
What's interesting is so we obviously deal with sort of downstream problems a lot of times of bean to bar chocolate, right? In what I do every day, because customer A wants to make their chocolate and wants to put it in machine A, right? Which for us is a Selmy, right? Yeah. And so viscosity then becomes really critical as the way the machine works and preventing overcrystallization. And so in my head, that's always been about fat percentage and particle size, right? Yeah. And we had somebody that we're doing some work with recently that was like, the only thing I really care about on that conversation is moisture content.
Yeah.
And it was like one of those like, oh yeah, why didn't I think about that? Right. And so now one of the things that we're always looking at are how we roast, right? And making sure, forget flavor of roasting, which is important. I mean, I'm not saying forget flavor, but I'm saying like flavor's not the only thing we're doing at roasting. We got to drive moisture off. Yeah. Right. And if we don't get moisture content to like less than 2%, we're always going to get thick chocolate. We don't have a choice.
Yeah. Yeah. That's true.
And I think that where you were talking before about learning, like one of the things that I love about chocolate is that like every time I go down a rabbit hole, I
Mhm.
learn like 232 items, and then there's like 14 more rabbit holes to go down.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Hey, so before the trip to France, did you love food?
I ate, yeah, I did. That started, in my early 20s because I lived in a small town in Northern Ontario for a long time. So, I mean, it was meat and potatoes growing up, which I hated. And and then started traveling with work in my early 20s. So, food became more important. And then chocolate. I mean, I was still eating Reese peanut butter cups every day until I was 25 or something. And
If you eat them today, I'm not going to dog you for that.
yeah, well,
I'm
I
cool.
know
I'm
now
cool with
they're too.
that.
It's funny because now they're too sweet. We make a peanut butter truffle, and it is not sweet. We use a milk chocolate that has about 31% sugar content in it, and so then once you start adding in your organic peanut butter and that sort of thing, it gets less and less sweet. So it's actually less sugar than a lot of our 70 and 80% dark chocolates. So once you get used to that and then you try to eat a Reese peanut butter cup, there were years I could, and then all of a sudden one day I just thought, oh God, this is too sweet.
So I usually save this question for the end, but
Yeah,
I'm going to ask it now because it's like set up. Okay, like I have a Kit Kat bar problem.
yeah,
Like I just do, like unabashed, straightforward Kit Kat bar problem.
yeah.
But I ask everybody during Chocolatier chat, like, I don't know, you're at the movie theater, you get the big thing of popcorn, and you're going to get a confection out of the case because you have to.
Yeah.
What do you get?
Junior mints. Do you have those?
Yeah, we junior mints.
So at Christmas time, my one commercial chocolate that I still eat, at Christmas time, I buy at least 3 full boxes of After Eights from about November 15th until Christmas, and I eat all 3 boxes myself. It used to be one, and then I had children, and then they discovered that they like it, so now I have to buy more, and then now I'm hoarding it. Eat more because I'm afraid the children will eat it first. So that is my one main thing that I still, in terms of commercial chocolate. And After Eights, I'm assuming, also still in the United States. Okay.
Yeah. And then everybody has their
What
knockoff
we
version.
have that you don't have. I know our Reese peanut butter cups you guys get in 2 packs. We always have in 3. We get 3.
And they're better. But like the Kit Kat bars, like, so the border's now been closed for 14 months. I don't even know anymore.
Yeah,
Forever.
it's a long
And
time.
we have family. My wife has family that live up in the GTO.
Mm.
And GTA, what? GTO, like it's
Yeah.
not a car, right?
Do
Anyway, so
Yeah,
and the last stop before the border is always for me to like hoard Kit Kat bars because
because you don't have them. You don't
we
have them.
have them, we have them, but they're still made by Nestle in Canada,
Oh, okay.
and the chocolate's better.
Oh, well, there you go.
So I've gone like Canadian Kit Kat barless for almost 14 months. I'm very sad.
We'll have to get you some. We'll send you some.
Yeah, well, it's funny around here. Like so I mean, normally we're traveling and there's a lot of international travel and there's stuff, and inevitably somebody brings you back Kit Kat bars from somewhere else in the world. And
Yeah.
like they brought me the coffee ones made by Hershey a couple weeks ago. They were okay, but
They're okay.
they weren't they weren't as good as like straight milk chocolate Canadian Kit Kat bars.
Yeah, I like the 70% dark ones. Do you have
Those are
those?
really good too.
Yeah, yeah, I like those ones. Kit Kat was like a favorite as a child, and then now that I haven't moved on to dark chocolate, but I moved on to dark chocolate and then I worked my way back depending on the milk chocolate.
I I don't like to admit it publicly, but I'm a milk chocolate guy.
Mm,
It doesn't have the same, people expect me to, and I'll eat dark chocolate. I mean, I like dark chocolate, but
yeah, but
I like if you put darkened milk on the table,
yeah,
I
we know
and right. And it's even like where you talk about tasting, finding differences in milk chocolates about milk powders and about percentage of cocoa in them and all that stuff,
Yeah. Here, I think, are you guys here for the railing?
We're gonna put a railing on.
Okay. I think
Okay, we got to move.
take the phone. Yeah, let's take the phone and my mask, just in case.
We're a walkabout.
We're walking. Well, you can see some of the new phone that I do.
Cool.
Am I still there?
You're still here.
Okay, good. I thought I hit a button. But yeah, so we've got
Hey, it's a roaster. Nice.
roaster,
A
winnower.
winnower.
Yeah, I have to figure out. Yeah, you guys are going to send me some photos of how to How
Right.
to do it for
I'm
people.
confused because it's all backwards. I'm like, why is your roaster back? Oh,
Oh
because
yeah, yeah.
Instagram's backwards.
I don't know how to flip the view,
You
but
can't.
we got grinder one here, but we already bought one, so we have a second one at our other location. So I don't know. Maybe we'll get into some nut butters, or we're just going to pre-grind a lot of chocolate. And then I've got a separate room. I purposely chose to have a room with a door that closes for the stone refiners because we have 100-pound stone refiner and some 20-pound ones. And so yeah, we need to close that door because I will lose my mind if I have to listen to that sound 3 days in a row. So
Not that the ball mill's all that quiet.
yes, we have the ball mill. And yeah, everybody so far who has looked at this has wanted to, here, let me flip, open the lid and touch them. And I told them to keep their hands out.
They're just metal balls.
Yeah, and the conch. So yeah, we're going to need some instructions on this. It's too bad the border's closed because normally Elliot or somebody would come up and help us with all this. But the conch I hadn't seen before. It is screwed shut. I'll even have to ask you how I open this thing. So, because that was you didn't sell these.
Right. There's a little metal flange on the tube, on the pump tube. If you unscrew that, it slides out of the way, and then you can lift it up.
Well, I have a girl on the team, chocolate maker, who's really good with tools, and I can't wait until she gets it.
We'll set up a demo. We'll set up a conversation. Yeah. We won't do that for everybody. We'll do.
Yeah.
So who are some people that, I mean, obviously your tasting's pretty good. Like, in fact, there were some comments about how good your tongue is earlier. I mean, who are some people in the industry that, you think are doing some really cool stuff? And like, what are they doing?
There's a lot of people. So outside Fruition, actually, I was going to say earlier, when I order chocolate for myself at holidays, which I do, I buy my own Christmas presents with chocolate. Fruition's one of them. I always buy some of theirs. In the past, Dick Taylor, of course. Who else would I? There's quite a few. Lately, Letterpress, I've been picking up some of their chocolate when I can. It's not easy to always get these things in Canada. Right. And if I do, it has to come from Vancouver or Victoria, so it's travels cross country. But yeah, Chocolate Project out in BC will carry quite a few. Taylor from Cyrene Chocolate, his chocolate is amazing, and he's always been a good inspiration to me, and he's a good friend. So yeah, I mean, there's, in terms of business models, I have people that I, will look up to in that respect. And then in terms of flavor profile, other ones. Dylan from Manoa is just doing amazing things. And he's helping all of us in so many ways. So with his Instagram TV or YouTube channel or whatever it is, I don't know. I watch those videos like crazy. So,
yeah, I mean, it's a pretty tight community still. I mean, it's growing, but I think there's definitely, I don't want to say the haves and the have-nots, but I mean, there's this group of people that have sort of have taken all that and they've been able to build the business around it. And it's definitely a challenging place to. Somebody asked earlier about how much chocolate do you have to sell to sort of, I forget how the question was phrased, but it was basically, when do you start making money? And,
and that I mean that depends on your staff. That depends on so many things, right? And the size of your staff. Like we decided to hire early, and that's changed things. Well, early meaning early in the bean to bar process. Like there were about 8 years with just me. But then once we hire, then you have a whole other level. It does free up your time to sell, but at the same time, then you have to. It just changes. It depends on what you need. Do you need packagers? Or are you trying to do it all by yourself?
Right. And somewhere, like, the question is always, what do you want to be when you grow up?
Yeah.
Like, do you want to be making chocolate, or do you want to be selling chocolate?
Yeah.
And that's not just a bean to bar question, right? It's probably all businesses really, from startup. Somewhere along the way, you've got to pick where you're good and where you give the most value.
Yeah.
And it's tough if you're the taster and the sourcer and the seller. Like
Yeah.
something's going to give in there, right?
Yeah, yeah. Or you work 16 hours a day and you wonder how you can fit in more. So yeah, because
Mommy, how come you're never home?
I know, yeah, because the way things are right now, because we do need to add a couple more people. So I'm still covering all of that. So I work from home until about 2. Just dealing with the business side of things, and then I go in and take over for the chocolate maker at about 2, and am there till 8 or 9 at night. So I'm still in the factory 8 hours a day, and then I go back and deal with more things until about midnight. So accounting, payroll, all that, and then there's sales. So at some point, one of those jobs has to be passed off, or 2 or 3 of them. And it's 7 days a week like that right now. So, but yeah, you have to think about how you want to model your business. If you want a team of people, and scale is really the most important thing. You can get stuck at a point where you're just breaking even. And I think that is where you have to look at, how can you fit more bars into your day, or how can you fit more production into your day with the same person. So obviously
Right.
getting a sell me tempering machine changed the game completely for us. We were hand tempering, and we were using for a long time hand tempering, and then using the easy temper, but still that's hand tempering. And then the sell me, we were able to make 60 bars a day, and now we can plug out about 220. And that's with a short day of work.
Right.
So we can have someone else come in and take over that machine, and we're getting faster all the time because we added the depositing head after. So it's a huge game changer to what you can complete in a day. So your production for a week in the past can all be done in one day, and then you could spend the rest of the week selling if you were a single chocolate maker.
Right. And this isn't just because you're a Cellmate customer, but like all that equipment behind you, the new stuff is all Cellmate equipment, right?
Yeah.
And fundamentally, look, if all we care about is particle size, right? You now have this tool that you can make 75 to 100 kg a day.
Yeah.
Right. Like I know your process is going to be a little more integrated, and there's going to be some movement back and forth, and so that number is probably not 100% accurate.
Yeah.
But let's say it's 50 kg a day. 50 kg a day of production is a lot more bars than where you're at a week ago or today.
Yeah, and you can calculate it based on the numbers that you're given for the machines, and then you discover after that you're not going to quite get there.
Well, that's why I said 50.
It'll take a while to reach that, like what the capacity of the machine says. It can take a while to actually reach that, and sometimes you have to do the add-ons like the depositing head, or
Right.
It's just a matter of getting better with it, right? It's time and figuring out the best method.
Right. Like I tell people ask me, well, how many molds can I do in an hour? I'm like, with the depositing head, I can do like 120.
Yeah.
Right. So the reality of it is I'm going to run out of chocolate in a plus machine, a 25 kg machine.
Oh, yeah, that's interesting. We've started running out of chocolate,
Right.
And then trying to make a little more. But with our stone refiners, we also don't want to run them to capacity because it'll take even longer than the 3 days that it takes us now to get to the texture that I want. So yeah, it's funny. I'm coming in my chocolate maker saying, well, that's an empty tempering machine. And I'm like, how is it empty? I thought I made enough chocolate for you to be busy for 2 days.
Right. And it's moving that bottleneck. And I think what's back to the nuances of like bean to bar versus confection to whatever.
Yeah.
Like if I run out of chocolate most of the time, I walk across the hall and I grab another bag.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Obviously we have bean to bar chocolate that's made too, but I've got, I don't know, it's around everywhere. I've got 5,000 pounds of chocolate in this building.
Yeah, when you're using couverture, it's amazing. You don't run out of chocolate the way that.
Right.
You don't have people saying, well, why can't you just make more Easter chocolate? I'm like, well, it would take a week from the bean part. And maybe another 3 days for me to order in more of whatever ingredient I'm out of.
Right. And I think that's right. And that's, so now from a cost perspective, right? So, okay, yeah, I can put more beans on the shelf at $8 a kilo or whatever they are. I can put more minimally processed grain sugar cane on the shelf at, $1.25 a pound.
Yeah.
But I've got to put 2,000 pounds of it on the shelf to put more on the shelf. I can't put 50 pounds of that on the shelf. I can't put 5 pounds of cocoa beans on the shelf.
Yeah.
And so you were talking about scaling, and it's just like, how do you how do you make those decisions?
Yeah, and you can scale up and look at your, the capacity of each piece of equipment you're buying, but then there's going to be another bottleneck down the road at some point. So it might be your fridge space. So
Molds.
for us, we don't have to worry about humidity from, I'll say, mid-October. And we're having a weird March, though. There's some humidity, which is very strange for March. But usually mid-April, the humidity starts to creep back in. Even then, it's about under 40%, but it drops right down to 28 in the air. So we can use our fridge. Once the humidity leaves the fridge for the winter, you're good. You can forget chocolate bars in there for a day, and they won't be sticky. They won't have a problem. But that is a Canadian northern. Toronto's different. They have much more humidity than we do. But
This big lake, it's that big wet thing
yes,
on the south side, right?
I mean, we're on Lake Huron. Manitoulin's on Lake Huron, but yeah, because of the extreme cold, I don't have to worry about humidity for a good chunk of the year, and then I suddenly have to worry about it like crazy from May until the end of September. So it's kind of unique to have to flip-flop, and then to talk to other chocolate makers who are out literally, on the coast, on the ocean, and they're wondering why their chocolate is seizing in their stone refiners, and it's because of the humidity in the air that is present all the time. And we don't have that problem unless it's the summertime. Traditionally, I haven't run a lot of chocolate, like actual bean to bar, in the middle of the summer. But we flipped to pastry. Last summer, that changed because we got busier. Manitoulin became the place to be within Ontario also. So, and this year we're anticipating it'll be busy again because everybody's looking for this local travel. We're missing our American tourists, but they've been replaced with Ontario tourists.
Yeah. Hey, so there was a question just about, then I'll let you answer it because it's a better question for you. Like first melanger, what was yours and what would you recommend these days?
It was a Premier, the brown base, and it was the smallest one, the 8 pounds, I guess. I think it was 8 pounds.
What's the red base one?
The red is the new. So they switched from the brown base to the red. And those supposedly have the automatic shut off. I bought low pros that go under the cabinets as my second 2 refiners. So I started with the little brown one and was making batches, and it's always worked. It sounds rough now. And it's loud, but we're using it just for hazelnut butter at this point because the only hazelnut butter in organic I can get in always has a little bit of texture to it. So I smooth it out with that little original Premier because I don't want to run it overnight anymore. The low pros, they stopped making them and selling them about a month after I bought them. So they have, they're good little machines, better at the beginning, but I have problems with the chocolate going up the center. I can't fill it with more than 2 kilos in the machine. It should fit 4.5 kilos. So at the beginning, I was able to run 4.5 kilos, and then the problem started. I've replaced parts, but I think those will also be nut butters, as long as I don't have to run it overnight. And it being so cold here, the temperatures will drop outside and therefore inside overnight. And the chocolate will temper itself in the machines and harden up and then burn the belt out.
Yeah, we have some of those challenges too, even in our space.
I'm still a loyal Premier customer when it comes to stone refiners. So we jumped up to we have the DCM 20, the old model, and now the newest model, which is actually amazing. The wheels pop off like nothing. I don't have to use tools to pop the wheels off anymore to clean it. When we have the 100-pound refiner as well, and that one's been fantastic. Don't ask me how to take it apart and put it back together because I can't even lift the parts myself. That is something we have to move tomorrow. And
the tractor, are you getting the tractor out again?
Well, I don't know. We kept 2 pallets to strap some machines down, but in this case, the tractor just had to go from one side of the building outside to the other while everything was still on its pallets, having come from Italy. Tomorrow we would have to strap it down ourselves, and then I would have to watch literally a farm hay tractor, like it's got the spikes for picking up hay bales. I'd have to watch that drive a couple blocks, and I think I almost had a heart attack last Saturday watching this happen, and I don't know if I can handle it. So we found a trailer that we can just roll everything up on wheels.
Okay.
But the tractor, I'm not guaranteeing that the tractor might not come out midway through the process. We will see.
When are you hoping to be in the new facility completely and out of the old space?
So tomorrow morning at 9, we're moving over our tempering machine. our enrober, our stone machines, so that we can start operating. And then next week we'll spend time learning the new stuff, making sure the rest of the wall outlets are fully in, because we've got a few. But so whatever we can get running first is what we'll learn first, and then we'll work our way towards, hopefully the ball mill and the winnower. We'll start with the winnower. So
got it. So we'll be talking after Easter is what you're telling me.
You and I will be talking every day. Get used to
Well, so I want to talk some more about food. So you said like food wasn't part of your gig, but like there have to be some early food memories, right? I mean, other than meat and potatoes, or is that it? Like,
yeah, I mean, honestly, it all started probably in my 20s. Well, I ate a chocolate bar every day from age, so high school, 14, grade 9 on. I purchased a chocolate bar every single day at school, right through university, every single day. And it was mostly Reese peanut butter cups or Kit Kat. Those were the two. And then, in my 20s, that switched to the 70% bars. And then it was France. So, no, food became an important thing, I would say, in my early 20s. Food and wine. Of course, wine. So.
There's worse things.
Yeah.
I mean, as far as I'm concerned, I mean, like, I'm with you. Like, food is always kind of that thing, right? Like, mm-hmm. And chocolate has become that, like it is for you. Chocolate is sort of my thing.
Yeah.
I'm the Philly kid. I'm from Philadelphia originally, so it's my John.
Yeah.
That would be the Philly jargon. But
But yeah, and I mean, I have to say, ice cream has been my second love all the way through. So if I can find a little extra space in this factory, you never know, I'll try to filter some of this chocolate into ice cream, because it's still a great love of mine.
Yeah, I mean, that's like watching like Chris Elbow, right? Yeah. I mean, like I don't know where he has time to do any of this other stuff, but like he was kind of the same thing. Like, I wanted to learn ice cream, and so he did ice cream, and then he's got this new place where he's like doing soft serve and donuts and like. I
dream of soft serve chocolate ice cream with our bean to bar.
And he's making bean to bar chocolate too. Like he's.
Yeah, you gotta, and again, that's bringing in staff, right? That's always you can't do it all alone, or you just stretch yourself too thin.
No, and that's like he just built a whole new space, and I mean, like it has the cast of thousands or whatever,
Yeah.
But I mean, but he talks about that too. Like you talked about breaking in staff. Like another nuance of running your own business is keeping people on the team.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. But how hard is it to hire where you are? Because I can't imagine there's a huge.
Yeah, no, and there are hardly ever do we have someone move here with an education in food or a background or having gone to culinary school or chocolatier school. We have people who might be good at baking at home. So that's really what we have to look at. We got really lucky with our first chocolate maker, who was baking at the market while her kids were, home in the early days when she had babies, and wasn't ready to go back to work yet. And she is just a powerhouse and just powers through and learned chocolate so quickly. And it's almost embarrassing, because her bars were looking better than mine in about a week. So now when I have good bars now, I leave them out on purpose to say, look at mine. I'm still just as good as you are.
You taught her well.
Yeah. But all that flavor stuff is my thing too. So, you got to round out your team with people who can power through, and then the other artistic. We have drilling now. The other artistic types that, want to think about flavor profile and development and pairing and ingredients and what might be the freshest ingredients. I'm spending my summers growing mint quite a bit right now for our Manitoulin mint bar. And actually, I'm wrong. I do have a hobby of growing mint. That's a new thing, and it started because I wanted to make a white mint chocolate bar that was green. And now I spend all summer growing and dehydrating mint. We supplemented this last summer with someone else growing on the island to help me out. So they grew about 50% of it, and we dehydrated it all. But that has become I have a hobby finally outside of chocolate, because my hobby always was chocolate and my day job. And now mint growing is. Yeah,
but you're growing all the mint for the chocolate job. So I don't know that it's really a hobby outside of like.
I don't know if it counts.
Like, are you growing are you like learning about mint, like different types of mint and like you're doing
Yeah,
this whole?
yeah. We grow 5 varieties. One is a mystery mint, and you can thank Carrie Beal for that. She came up one summer a couple years ago, and we may have stolen a couple clippings from someone's garden, and so that was the mystery mint that we were growing. So yeah, Carrie's always good for that sort of thing. An adventure. So yeah, we and the chocolate doctor, for anybody who doesn't know Carrie, but who's a real doctor. I met her first in an appointment on the island while pregnant, prior to knowing that she was in the chocolate industry. So I bet she's on there somewhere.
She was. She made some comment about how good your tongue was earlier. That's what I was referring to. So yeah, Carrie. Carrie's been a guest on here too, and like Carrie, I mean, obviously has been. I think what's interesting is how important she's been in a lot of people's careers, right? And I think we've mentioned a bunch of people like that.
I've learned the absolute most from Carrie Beal, the absolute most out of anybody. And I should have mentioned that earlier when we were talking. I was thinking about bean to bar makers, but yeah, Carrie's by far been, and it'll just be one small suggestion and it takes you on a whole new path. And it's fantastic.
Right. But one of the things that, I mean, I was in food for a long time before, I moved over to chocolate or even pastry. And one of the things that I really notice about like the chocolate industry is there is a tremendous willingness to share. Like, and it's not always because that sharing is being monetized.
Yeah.
Right. And it does mean that we kind of learn down the same path sometimes.
Yeah.
And if we do something different, we may not know why.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think it's really true in bean to bar that people just give each other information, like give competitors information.
Oh yeah,
like,
and I mean, part of it too is that like with bean to bar, you can pretty well figure out. It's not like a chocolate bar is necessarily a secret. Maybe there's a secret ingredient, but if it's a 70% bar, you can sort out the rest of the ingredients pretty easily. It's just a simple calculation. I'm taking you into the retail, but there might be an echo. I don't think
no worries.
There's no escaping the drilling and the a retail space is high ceilings. Maybe I'll close the door though. So yeah, what on earth were we talking about? Oh yeah,
we were talking about sharing information.
Yeah. I mean, you can even texturally, if you're able to taste it and sort it out based on texture, you can almost figure out how much cocoa butter is in the chocolate bar, and you would be able to remake it. So any chocolate maker could easily copy without. It doesn't matter if you share info. It's about respect. I won't ever copy someone else's product, and when people are encouraging me to make the same thing as another chocolate maker, chocolatier,
right,
I'll say no, because what would encourage customers to come to me? Oh, maybe I make it better than them. Maybe I don't. I'd rather them come to me because I make something different that somebody hasn't tried before. I don't want to make the same as somebody else. I want to make something that no one's tried before. So we try for that. Obviously, with a standard 70% single origin bar, it's hard to do that. I'm finding a new place to put you.
No, but I mean,
I'm either too short or there's no.
That's okay. We're almost done. We got like 2 minutes. We're almost done. So
I'm on my toes.
That's all right. Hey, you got a lot going on. You got construction to oversee. You got to get a farm tractor to hire.
Well, the farm tractor will just come over from the same farm we're on.
So good luck with this weekend and the big move.
Yeah.
And we'll be talking soon.
Yes, I'll be asking you a million questions. A million.
And I noticed that you Reese's peanut butter cups from now on.
Your cell phone right now, aren't you?
What number? I don't know the number. You know how to reach me. All right.
All right.
Thanks a bunch.
Bye. Yeah, thank you. Have a good weekend.
You too. Good luck.
All right. Talk to you later.
All right. Bye.
Bye.